Welcome, adventurers! I'm Heather Martinson, founder of Celebration Education, where we provide adventure which inspires creativity and leads to possibility. I'm going to talk about the adventures we're having in our classes this week, the fireworks that you can do at home, and I'm going to issue to you a call to adventure challenge. So this week's topic in our classes is war machines. We started off by making boffers. If you're not familiar with boffers, this is a really small boffer. This is what the children made in class. It is a PVC pipe with pool noodle on top of it, covered with duct tape, but it's soft that the kids can actually hit each other. And they love that. So each of them got to make a small boffer. And then we talked about some key points of war machines that Leonardo Da Vinci had designed and their modern counterparts today. Then we talked about some, because most of what Leonardo designed in the war machines that he designed, most of them never came about in the Renaissance. So we talked about what weapons did exist in the Renaissance times. Then for the writing activity, we read the Butter Battle book by Dr. Seuss, which was a kind of it was where these two sides weren't getting along and they were getting bigger and bigger artillery, threatening each other, building up their very much the nuclear arms race is what the book was about. But it ended with both sides saying, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to drop the bomb, so to speak. And then because it had no ending, and the students got to talk about it, and then what they did was they wrote their own peace agreements. So they had their two sides, and each side wrote what they felt they should do to create peace among the two groups of people. And then after each of them had their ideas, they came together to discuss, to see what they could come up with, if they could possibly work out peace instead of war. Then for our math and logic activity, we talked about the soldiers marching in rows and how many rows and how many soldiers all together. And then we went from there and we did a Greg Tang math book. If you're not familiar with Greg Tang math, it's stories and poems that get you to see math in a new way. And so it was all very mental math and helping them exercise and see math and figure things in a new way. So it was fun for them. And I was surprised. All of the children yesterday were engaged, from the sixth grader all the way down to the first grader were engaged the whole time. So that was fun. Then for our genius principle, we talked about how important it is to listen, that sometimes our disagreements can be lessened if we just listen to each other. So the activity was actually 5 minutes of silence, and they did get to color during the silent time if they were to listen and see what they could hear in the 5 minutes. I was surprised how quickly the 5 minutes went, and the kids did great in just being very quiet and listening. So that was fun. Then for our big activity for the day, the students designed and created their own catapults. And then after that, we came back together and there was a catapult competition. And they did good with those too. All of the catapults worked. I was pleased. Then the final activity was boffer battle. So each of the students got to play with their boffers. Here in Yucaipa, the students still had their shields from last week. So they fought with their boffers and their shields, and they had a great time. We set it up like a tournament, and they got to pair off and fight. And then in the end, we had a free-for-all where everyone fighting against everyone. So they enjoyed that. So then for our Minecraft class on Friday, the students are going to be all working together to build battlements, and then they're going to be creating some weapons, and then they're going to be defending their fort from invaders. The build challenge is for them to work on a PvP field that they can play on over the summer break. So some ideas of things that you can do at home. with their children, have them imagine they're writing a script for a movie and it's a battle set in Renaissance times. So the children are going to need to know what types of weapons are available to them, and but also they can make it a historical fiction if they would like to bring in some of Leonardo da Vinci's war machines and actually have them as if they were made in his time, and how the battles went because of his war machines being part of the battles. And so then the children can write out the story, or if they prefer, they can make it in a storyboard fashion, kind of like a comic strip, to show how the battle goes. All right, another firework that they can work on is to study the Great Wall of China. Why was it built? Was it effective? What is it used for now? And write all this in your notebook. And final one is to make it relevant for today. Find out what wars are going on in the world today and why are they fighting, and is it worth it? Is it justified? And write about it in your notebook. Of course, big news right now is that North and South Korea are making up, and that's huge. That's the opposite of war, and we can learn a lot from their coming back together. Perhaps if we know why people are being friendly, we can also know how we can avoid being unfriendly, being in fights. So go ahead and check out today's wars and today's peace. I think that'd be great. All right, some other upcoming events. We have our teen hangout in Santa Ana tomorrow, and next week is our final Disneyland meetup for the year. Next week is all our last classes for the year, and then on the 29th in Santa Ana is our closing celebration, where we're going to be bringing everything back together for one final time for the school year and introducing our theme for next year. So our philosophy or practice for this school year is art versus science. And there's a lot of people talk about which is more important, art or science. And too often children are discouraged from trying to become professional dancers or artists or musicians because it's not realistic. Parents feel like they're protecting their children by making sure that their academics are stronger than their arts. And that, thinking that they could become proficient or even become professional in one of the arts, parents act like it's a pipe dream. That's like asking for, some parents act as if, you're just asking to become a drug dealer. It's not the same. It's, and there are definitely some people who do become professionals in those fields. But even then, even if you don't become professionals, there's more and more science to back up the fact that more experience in the arts creates intelligence, and that children can become more academically smart if they're smart artistically. So please don't discourage your children from doing art. I think that's a great disservice for your children. Your children should be working on something that's unique, and that that's something special that means something to them, and that they can become their own genius at. So one time I had this experience where there was a mom that bragged to me about how her daughter used to be an artist, but she discouraged her from that, and because this daughter is now on track to become a doctor, and that is a better decision overall. But unfortunately, from what I could see of this girl, she did not have artistic talent. I don't know if she could still draw or not, because I didn't see her draw, but we were working on a craft. It was t-shirts. The girls were remaking some old t-shirts to some new designs. And this girl, who was supposedly an artist, didn't know what to do. She copied the other kids. Not only that, when she had completed her design, she asked her little sister what she thought of it. She wasn't confident enough in what she did for herself. It seemed to me that she's lost her artistic instinct, her creativity. She doubts, and that's a big loss as far as I'm concerned. I mean, we could always be happy that she's doing well academically, but when even a doctor, I want, if I'm going to a doctor, I want to go to a doctor who would think creatively, who would think outside the box, who would, not just follow all the set rules, but they can think, okay, I saw this other thing in this other context. I think it could apply here. And if we do this, perhaps it'll be a greater result. And that's how we progress as people, not by doing the same thing that everyone's always done, but by trying new things. I'm not saying that I want necessarily try something new on me, but as far as the doctor goes, but I do want to see somebody who can think outside the box, who can think creatively, who can find new solutions when you don't know what else to do. And of course, one of the greatest minds of all time is most widely known as an artist. And that's Leonardo da Vinci. He's number one known as an artist, but he was one of the greatest minds of all time. In Leonardo da Vinci said, we should understand the science of art and the art of science. To him, science and art were the same thing. They were, as a matter of fact, Sir Ken Robinson, he talks about how schools kill creativity. And he talks about how these days knowledge is everywhere. Knowledge is cheap. Everyone has it. Even if you don't possess it in your head, it's in your hand, right? So with knowledge and information so readily available, it's not the knowledge and information that we need to be dumping into our kids right now, but what's going to give our children competitive edge is creativity. And that in the new age, creativity is going to be valued higher than all of the knowledge of all of your degrees. So he's encouraging parents to focus more on the creative side of things than on the academics. I think that's very interesting. I like to say that comparing science against art is like comparing two sides of a Mobius strip. If you don't know what a Mobius strip, look it up. But when science and art are used together, they create an object of infinite potential. There is no end. It just keeps going. So your call to adventure challenge for this week is to encourage your children in their creative endeavors and make it as important as our academic endeavors. And maybe for this week, at least make it more important than their academic endeavors. So that's my message. I'd love for you to share with us your experiences, how that works out for you. Keep up the good work, moms and dads. Visit celebrationeducation.com to learn more about what we do and to sign up for our adventures. Fall registration is open on most of our classes by now. If you need help finding the registration links, ask me and I can help you get registered, because we do expect some of our classes to fill. So it's first come, first serve basis, of course. Well, that's it for this week's Call to Adventure. I'm Heather Martinson, founder of Celebration Education, where we've been learning outside the box since 2006. I'll see you next time. Bye.